Howdy, everybody. Happy Friday. We are just going to do a quick update on the storms as they start to arrive in the Brazos Valley. And then I'll probably take a little bit of a break, watch them, because right now, thankfully, they are sub-severe, and then we will hop back on as needed. So I'm going to give you a quick radar update. We'll look ahead through the rest of the evening and through the rest of tomorrow, and kind of just talk all things first alert weather day. So if you have any questions as we go along, comments, anything like that, feel free to put them in the chat. I'm going to run through the forecast, and then I will kind of circle back toward the chat to see if I have missed anything as you join. But right now, we've got that line of thunderstorms we watched pretty much all day long move across the state. It's left really a trail of damage in its wake. We've seen pretty much every kind of warning and watch issued so far tonight across the state, but for the Brazos Valley, things have thankfully been pretty quiet so far. But now we're seeing the line push in pretty much on schedule, maybe slightly faster than we first anticipated, but only by about 30 minutes to an hour. So watching this now, I'll kind of freeze where we're sitting right now. I got this line of thunderstorms. I'll zoom out across the state because it really is an impressive line. It stretches the entire length of the state, and we've watched it, again, bring flash flood warnings, flood advisories, severe thunderstorm warnings, along with a couple tornado warnings closer to the DFW Metroplex. Haven't seen any confirmed touchdowns of anything like that, but definitely some rotation as this first move through the Metroplex. We've seen since then things kind of calm down and start to broaden out, which of course is great news. But right now things are sub-severe as they enter the Brazos Valley, but they've got a long way to go, and we've got a pretty unstable atmosphere. It's warm, it's muggy. If you stepped outside, then you know that. So we're going to watch this obviously very closely through the next several hours. So kind of what we're looking at right now as this moves in, no warnings issued, but we did get a special weather statement for Milam and Robertson counties, as those will be the first two impacted by this line. The first effects we expect: heavy rain, frequent lightning, and gusty winds. So that special weather statement is specifically for those winds, which we've seen gust upwards of 65 miles per hour so far today or this evening. If we kind of poke around in this right now and check out how winds are looking for the time being, again, a lot of this has not moved into the Brazos Valley, and for many of us, it will be several hours before you see the impacts, but I just kind of wanted to hop on here, do an initial update of where things sit and what we expect, and then we will of course hop back on as needed here on Facebook, and if you're joining on YouTube, and then we'll cut in on air as needed through the overnight hours. Okay, let's take a look at wind specifically as this moves into Milam and Robertson counties. I'm going to zoom in. I think it's actually looked like they've calmed a little bit. I want to put this in play just to kind of watch its progression over the past 2 hours. Yeah, so we were seeing some higher reflectivities as it was right along I-35, and now it's calmed down a little bit. Still definitely significant winds coming out of this. Let's take a look. We're going to backpedal a little bit. So I would expect as this enters anywhere from 35 to 45 mile per hour gusts to be pretty frequent. So sub-severe, but obviously something notable. You will feel those impacts, and you will likely hear them again. Rumbles of thunder and heavy rain expected to move in with this. If we can get a look at rainfall rates, switch this over. Okay, close to 2 inches, 3 inches even in our heavier cells per hour. So those are pretty significant rates. We've got flood watches in effect. Kind of want to go through what we've got issued ahead of this line already. Storm Prediction Center right now only has 7 of our 16 counties under a severe thunderstorm watch. That does include Brazos County. So we've got Milam, Robertson, Lee, Burleson, Brazos, Madison. Those are the 7 counties actively under a watch. If you're not under a watch, I do expect that will be extended through the next several hours. But this is kind of the initial counties that will feel the first impacts from this storm system. That's why they've got issued first. So this watch is issued for the potential for hail up to ping pong ball sized, and wind gusts upwards of 75 miles per hour. Low tornado concern, but because this is moving into an environment that's a little bit more unstable, we will watch for some rotation. That is still the lowest concern on our list, but we're watching for all severe weather hazards tonight. And as I mentioned, this storm has already shown us that it's got the potential to create some rotation kind of embedded in that leading edge. So our biggest concern is going to be with the winds. You can kind of see the shape of that on radar. We talk about a bowing structure, and that just shows us that, and you can see it. It kind of makes that curve. That's just winds pushing that storm system out. So you can see the southern end of the storm system is outpacing the northern end, so it's swinging into the Brazos Valley, kind of, again, on our northwestern corner first. That's, again, all thanks to those winds. If we look at, you can see that there's some severe thunderstorm warnings down across the valley and then on I-10 a little bit closer to San Antonio. Then you move further to the north. Things are a little bit more stable up there. It's moist and muggy further to the south you go, so storms kind of latching onto that. And then you move back up to the north. Things are slightly quieter, but we've still seen a lot of flooding issues. That's been the biggest impact so far tonight across the Metroplex, but really across the big country, down to the valley, everywhere that this line stretches, it's been dumping rain. And the state of Texas, we all know by now, we need rain. We need a lot of it, but all at once, it's hard for our soils, especially at their current state, to handle. So things are really dry, and so it's going to lead to runoff quicker than we might normally see, just because our grasses, our vegetation, our soils in general, just not really equipped to absorb all of that all at once. They will take some of that, of course, and it should help with drought conditions, but we will likely see quite a bit of runoff as this rain kind of falls all at once. So flooding and strong straight line winds are going to be our top concerns tonight as this system rolls in. I know that Ruby asked about hail. There is no current hail that we are watching. I will poke around, kind of see. Let me switch back over to first alert, our radar a little bit closer to home, just to kind of make sure. We haven't seen any confirmed reports as this line is closer or moving closer, but I want to see if radar's trying to pick up on anything. Seeing a little bit of pulsing up here just on the outside of Milam, so let's look into that along 77 there. Okay, so when we talk about, or when we look at our hail scope here, the grays are, we would like to see nothing, but if we do see anything when we look into it, gray, usually not a bad thing. That's our radar telling us there's a potential for some hail development, but if there is hail, it's likely subsevere, which means likely P to maybe penny-sized hail, but this looking more like P-sized hail here, right along 77 there, just at Rosebud before we move into Milam County. Put this in play. That's kind of what we've been seeing. Most of this line, I'll move this around. Not seeing anything else really, but you can see the difference in reflectivities there in Rosebud. It's just a little bit more elevated, so kind of trying to pulse up and organize a little bit of a hail core. Not overly concerned, and again, there are no active warnings on this leading edge that's moving into parts of Milam and Robertson counties, so that's good news. But special weather statement is put out for gusty winds, and again, we have seen 35 to 45 mile per hour gusts pretty frequently as this moves in, so that's what we're watching for. Subsevere but impactful. Beyond that, I do want to remind you that everybody is under a flood watch right now. A lot of rain all at once. We even saw a weather watcher up in the Metroplex report rainfall rates around 8 inches per hour, which is just absurd. A lot of rain that rate is just, there's no way that you can handle that. Right now, as this enters, we're not seeing anything like that, thankfully, but it is about 2 to 3 inches. So that is still significant and can still certainly lead to flooding, especially if this line decides to slow down a little bit and we see the same places getting inundated with rain, then obviously flooding is going to be a bigger concern for those folks. So everyone across the area is under a flood watch right now. Only 7 counties under that severe thunderstorm watch. That's our northern counties, our northernmost, so Brazos off to the north. Beyond that, no one else included in the watch, the severe thunderstorm watch yet, but I do expect that will be extended both in time and coverage because, again, that watch right now only goes till 3 a.m., and I'll show you forecast radar here. To remind you, we do expect this will go through closer to sunrise. So let's look at forecast radar here. You can see this is a little bit behind. So I would speed this up by about an hour. So this has this kind of moving in around 2 o'clock to places like Lee and Burleson and the northern parts of Brazos County. I would estimate that's closer to 12:30, 1 o'clock. And then pushing across the region by 3 or 4 and then exiting off to the east closer to sunrise. So hoping this will move out by 7 o'clock. Lingering showers possible, but the main impactful strong to severe storms should push off to the east by about 6 or 7 o'clock tomorrow. Someone asked, is this coming toward Bryan? Yes, eventually we do expect this to impact parts of Bryan and College Station, as well as Franklin. This is kind of a storm system we expect to impact everyone tonight. Right now, it's not severe, which is great, but we could certainly see some reorganization, some further strengthening and development. So that's something that we're going to have you covered on. We're going to hop on Facebook, on YouTube, and on air as needed through the overnight hours. So if you head to bed tonight, my biggest recommendation to you is to make sure you've got the KBTX weather app. You can go into settings, be sure your notifications are turned on along with your sound, because we want to be able to alert you as storms roll into your neck of the woods as you head to bed tonight. So we want to be able to potentially wake you up to let you know if storms are heading your way. So the best way we can do that is with the app. But if you wake up from the rain and rumbles and you want to know if we're covering it, we're going to be here on Facebook, on YouTube, Ogren, or if you don't find us here, we should be streaming from Facebook if we cut in. But if for some reason you don't find us there, check KBTX, check our website. We've got you covered on every front. Anywhere you get KBTX weather information, we'll be there tonight to kind of take you along every step of the way. Okay. Friends asking about tornado concern, hail concern. I want to pop up our impacts graphic, and then we'll come back to forecast radar. Again, our chief concerns tonight are with strong straight line wind gusts and flooding. Those are the two concerns that I think will be widespread across the area. So rather than isolated cells causing problems, it's the line of thunderstorms that will impact everyone from Bryan College Station to Rockdale to Franklin. Right now, we're looking at friends up in Cameron and Hearn. You're going to get the first push of this. Heavy rain, quick 1 to 3 inches widespread across the area. So flooding, again, keep in mind, everything is very dry. So we need the rain, but because everything's so dry, we're going to see runoff a little bit quicker than usual, because soils, grasses, vegetation, they're going to have a harder time absorbing. Just because everything's so dry, it will kind of sit on top. We'll see some absorption, but a lot of it, if it falls all at once, sit on the top and kind of run off. So we'll see likely the usual trouble spots. Street ponding probably going to be an issue tomorrow. If you're out and about early, take it slow out there, because we'll likely see a lot of rain, a lot of puddling, ponding in its wake. Strong wind gusts with this line as it pushes through. Again, we're seeing frequent gusts of 35 to 45 miles per hour. Even if you went out earlier tonight, you probably noticed it was on the breezier side, kind of starting to see our atmosphere change and prime itself for this storm system. Now you're going to feel the bigger impacts. Hail concern. There is a hail concern. It's not widespread, so you're not going to see the entire line produce hail, but it's the small embedded cells along the leading edge that are going to be a concern, where we could see them start to organize, start to pulse up. We get a bigger updraft, and then we've got the potential. Right now, I think pocket change sized hail is what we will see most frequently, but Storm Prediction Center has issued the watch for up to ping pong ball sized hail. So we could see that kind of increase depending on what kind of instability the storms are able to tap into. So this is not a widespread concern. Hail is an isolated concern, but it is something that is possible tonight. P to pocket change size is what is most likely. So you've still got time to move your car. If you've got a garage, a carport, anything like that, not a bad idea to move that, because you've still got a little bit of time. Also, if you've got Halloween decor and you haven't moved that, the winds may carry that away. So not a bad idea to add some reinforcements or bring that inside. Hopefully you've already done all the preps. We've been talking about this all week long. Now it's just arriving. You've got, for many of us, an hour to 2 hours before it moves in. But if you're in our northwestern corner, it's already moving in. So I recommend you stay put, stay inside, away from windows, and stay tuned into the forecast. Tornado concern is the lowest concern, but we have seen some spots closer to the DFW area start to try to rotate a little bit. We've seen, I believe, all I've seen so far, 2 tornado warnings issued. I have not seen anything confirmed touching down, but radar starting to indicate some tighter rotation that has warranted a warning, but that has since been expired. Again, everything is subsevere. That's moving into the Brazos Valley, which is great news, and we'll hope that that will remain the case, but the environment is primed to produce some strong storms tonight, and that's why we first alerted today, because we anticipated that this was going to be the case. Okay, let's go back to forecast radar, because I want to walk through the first push first, and then we could potentially see a second round, so I want to cover that as well. Okay, so this is tonight. Again, I do think that this forecast radar, this particular model, is about an hour and a half behind schedule. So this front kind of picked up speed a little bit. So we're already seeing it move in. This shows it moving in about 1. It's 11 o'clock now, so maybe up to 2 hours behind schedule. Of course, with these fronts and these lines, they're always a little bit finicky. They could certainly speed up, slow down, and we will track it with you. But this gives you a good idea of the timeline. Becomes more widespread by about the 2-3 o'clock hour. So we expect to see impacts in Bryan College Station by that point, by 2 a.m. Again, I think this is behind schedule, so I think we could see them closer to 1 a.m. here in town. Then that will push to the east from there. Strong wind concern, flooding concern, that remains the case throughout the entirety of this system. And then we'll watch for isolated hail potential and the potential for some rotation as well. Okay, then this is going to exit off to the east, hopefully by the time we get to about 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning. Again, this, although it clears, it will likely leave behind quite a bit of a mess. So ponding, puddling, if you're heading the roads early tomorrow morning, take it slow and be cognizant of the fact that we could also see downed tree limbs, downed power lines, because wind is a concern. So power outage is also likely going to be impacting at least portions of the Brazos Valley tonight. Okay, now here's the problem. We get to the afternoon hours, we settle down a little bit, we get some clearing. The reason this is a problem is because the low pressure system that's driving all of this, that's still going to linger across the Red River, meaning we still have plenty of time to get influence from that. And until that clears off east, we've got the potential to find rain and rumbles. So we've got the weather maker, the low pressure system, still in our presence. Normally, when we get a storm system, it would work over the atmosphere, working to restabilize it. So when we get cloud cover, we get rain, that helps to kind of limit our storm potential. However, because this is an overnight threat and it clears out ahead of sunrise, we get from 7 a.m. through potentially 3 or 4 o'clock for clouds to clear, rain to shut off, and sunshine to come out. That is a problem because sunshine means more warm air, which means more destabilization for the atmosphere. So this is second round that we're watching is highly conditional. It's dependent on the fact or how quick that first storm system moves out and how well we can clear our skies. So if clouds hang around, we get a little bit of lingering showers, that's going to work to our benefit. This particular model thinks that we'll see some pretty good clearing and some destabilization that will prime the atmosphere for round 2. Round 2 looks like it's going to likely be in the late afternoon, early evening hours. So 5 or 6 o'clock if you have Saturday evening plans, which I know we've got a lot going on around town, from homecoming dances to the Bryan Songwriter Festival. I believe most of those performances are set to take place outside. I do believe they have a rain plan in place. So if you're heading out, definitely check in with their website or their socials to know how that may be impacted by the weather, because again, this is a second round that we'll watch. So through the afternoon hours, you may get a little bit of a break, but then we'll watch for another round of potentially widespread rain and thunderstorms. Again, this one is conditional. So this is unfortunately one that we're going to have to just watch, wait, and see through the afternoon hours how sunshine, if you see blue skies and sunshine peeking out tomorrow afternoon, that's not great for us because that means we destabilize, we get ready for a second round to push in. As long as that low sits over North Texas, there's still fuel there to use. And then hoping that this will clear out ahead of overnight tomorrow. Certainly by the time you wake up Sunday, we'll be all clear, but it's just going to be a long day where it's 2 separate rounds. So we'll get a break in between, but if we can get clouds and a little bit of sprinkles to linger around, it's going to help us out. Otherwise, we're going to continue. So we've got a first alert weather day in place for the entirety of your Saturday in preparation for 2 separate rounds. One overnight, early morning we're seeing unfold now, and one that comes in the late afternoon, early evening, and sticks with us through the later evening hours. I know it's a lot all at once, but that's what we're tracking. So just trying to get everyone on the same page here. I'm going to go back to live radar, kind of talk this through one more time, and then I will likely step aside and kind of regroup, look at everything, and then as needed, we'll come back and update you on the storms as they continue to move into our area. Okay, so right now, this is what we've got. Sub-severe, we love to see that. No warnings issued. Right now, it doesn't look all that angry, which is good. By angry, I mean those high reflectivities where we're starting to see pinks and purples. But let's take a look at wind again. We'll look for hail as well. So right now, Milam County getting a good amount of rain and wind, but it looks like mostly this is calm. Don't love the way this looks, so let's see if they've noted anything about this. In the National Weather Service. Okay, nothing yet, but I'm going to keep my eyes on this. Let's switch over to hail and see how that's looking here. Okay, so this is where the same spot we've been watching the hail core kind of pulse up, right over 77 in Rosebud. Got to keep eyes on that. And I just want to move along the line. Nothing else. I see some friends asking about Baton Rouge. I will get you a look at that here in just a second. I'm just going to focus on local impacts first. Okay. So not much hail to see, but we're going to watch this. Just got another scan and really nothing has changed. So potentially pea-sized hail going to move into parts of Milam County here. And then the winds. We're going to watch this little bit of rotation here. But it looks pretty broad. But going to keep eyes on that. Let's get a look at some of these wind speeds here that are moving into Milam. Okay, these are a little bit lighter even than just 5 minutes ago. So that's good news. 21, 27 mile per hour winds recorded here. These are radar estimated, so not perfect, but things look like they're kind of calming down at least for a second here. But we'll watch all along this leading edge for some pretty gusty winds to push out. Let's look at Rockdale here. 25 mile per hour winds. Cameron, 16. I know we had someone watching from Rockdale. If things are looking or feeling like you can hear the winds moving in the rain, likely going to see that in the next couple minutes if you haven't already. Okay, let's put this in play. You can see there's a very large severe thunderstorm warning. Wow. That is huge. Goodness gracious. So, okay, I just want to talk about this for 1 second because this is what we've seen a lot tonight is these really large polygons where you can see the one just behind it. Let me get out my pointer so you know what I'm talking about. This little one, this is more of what we are used to seeing, but you can see this huge polygon. This is all one large severe weather or severe thunderstorm warning. When we see these, a lot of times it's for the wind potential because you can see these huge, miles impacted by these gusty winds on this leading edge of the storm system. So we'll watch for that here at home, but really significant. And you can see, this storm system is obviously packing a punch, but note the bowing nature of this here. And that's why you see this huge width from, this is almost, I don't know. Let's see, we can measure estimation. This is, miles wide. Goodness gracious. But you can see how it's starting to curve out. So this is very much wind driven here, which is, I imagine, what has prompted this warning around San Antonio. Again, that's way to the south, but just noting this storm starting to segment off a little bit. Okay. Now, people asking about Baton Rouge. So I'm going to cover that very quickly. Let's see. Okay. Cassidy Towns telling me they just extended the severe thunderstorm watch as we anticipated. Okay. Let's see if this is updated on our graphic yet before I go to Baton Rouge. Yeah. Okay. So now we've got, let's see if we can see it. They're till 3 a.m. still. Yep. So still looks like it goes until 3 a.m. for now. They've added Washington, Grimes, Walker, Houston, and Trinity counties. And I imagine they will add Austin, Waller, Montgomery, San Jacinto pretty soon here, next hour or two. They're just going to kind of probably work down to the south as the line enters the area, but we'll see how it holds steam as it moves into the Brazos Valley. Okay, so that's the latest update. Not a surprise there. We expected that to happen. So, okay, let me find we've got an away game radar. Let me check YouTube and make sure I'm not missing any questions from there. Nothing there. Okay. Let me find it. Make sure it's up to date before I... Sorry, guys. Only had the local stuff pulled up. Okay. I'm going to open this up and just make sure that it is up to date with the latest run and the latest model data. So Aggies playing LSU tomorrow in Baton Rouge. Tomorrow evening, kickoff set for 6:30. There's been some whisperings of it being moved, but nothing confirmed. Okay, well, this is more promising. So we've got that initial line. So you can see this is the line that exits out of the Brazos Valley. You can still see our eastern counties here being impacted by it. And then it's going to make its way across state lines, seemingly holding together as it moves along I-10 all the way to Baton Rouge, gives them a good downpour through the afternoon hours, and then hopefully clears off to the east, headed for New Orleans after that. Then there's our secondary push, so we'll be watching that closely, obviously, for here in the Brazos Valley, but as it exits, it's got the potential to move into Baton Rouge, but right now it looks like it's going to be after game time ends. So could still get that 6:30 kickoff without a hitch. Get the game going. But if we, for some reason, have a game time shift, KBTX Sports will absolutely have that covered for you. We'll have that online and in the sports app, as well as likely the news app and on our socials if anything does change. Plus, we've got sports director Tyler Shaw. He's back from paternity leave, so we've got him out in Baton Rouge with Travis, and I'm sure they will be the first to know and let us know. Okay, Autumn asking about a hail impact in College Station. Yep, there is a potential for it, though it's isolated in nature, so this is not a widespread concern, but we know how hail acts here. It will pop up in a hurry. Right now, the biggest concerns are heavy rain and strong straight-line wind gusts because of the nature of the storm system. It's bowing out, which is usually good. If we can get that outflow to continue and kind of outpace it, that will weaken the storm. Oh, they just switched over. Sorry. We just started our Aggie Game Day show. Okay. That probably means I need to hop off for a second. So I'm going to step aside and I'll hop back as needed. And now Aaron and Alex are doing sports. So, okay.